Good morning, everyone. It's been a great morning already with wonderful remarks in that last panel. So here to illuminate our thinking and our policy making, to give EJ a break from the crazy presidential campaign as we move into what we hope will be a hopeful new period in the next administration, are three outstanding panelists. The first, EJ Dionne, is a senior fellow with the Brookings Institution, a beloved columnist at the Washington Post, a longstanding proponent in print and speech for national and international service, author of yet another impressive book, Our Divided Political Heart, which I hope you all will read or have read already. There could be no stronger advocate for national and international service than E.J. Dionne. Second, Vanessa Kerry is an American physician and healthcare administrator who has used her extraordinary medical talents throughout the world in places like Rwanda and Haiti and other countries in great need, and is co-founder and CEO of an extraordinary nonprofit she will tell you about called Seed Global Health. And finally, Scott Beale, a dear friend who's just an extraordinary social entrepreneur who started 3 nonprofit organizations, including the Inspirational Atlas Corps.
But before I begin, I just want to join you in saluting Harris Wofford. I actually want to salute Harris Wofford and you, because this is a cause that, while occasionally it's come under partisan attack and there have been arguments about, quotes, paid volunteerism, each of you has done more to keep this as a cause that people in both parties can think about, be serious about, and I think we owe you a debt. What better signal about what kind of country we are than to send people all over the globe to serve in communities that both want our help and want to sort of get together with us to solve problems. So that's practical reason number one. Practical reason number two, and I think this is being covered in the course of this discussion today, precisely at a time of economic trouble when people need opportunities. I think service, particularly for young people who are having trouble gaining a foothold on the first couple of steps of the ladder of mobility, there's a lot of evidence that service is connected with opportunities for mobility later in life. Third, the very fact that we are so divided as a nation, we know, if only in the case of some of us from all those World War II movies, how much the notion of shared service brought us together and made us look differently at the differences between us. In all those foxhole moments in those movies, it was all of us together serving the country. So we need to do that. But lastly, we do still need to be pulled out of this morass of mistrust. No matter how mad we are, no matter how much economic difficulty we have, we know we are better as individuals and as a people when we dedicate ourselves to serving others.
That's wonderful, EJ. Thank you so much. You know, Vanessa, before you came, General McChrystal talked about service becoming a habit and something that would be deep in our culture. To EJ's point, in an era of low social and institutional trust, imagine the power of bringing people of different races, ethnicities, income levels, backgrounds, geographies around the world together in common purpose, and what that could mean for our country and our globe, particularly now.
About 4 years ago, I started a nonprofit called Seed Global Health. I'm a physician by training, and through my experience working abroad in Rwanda, Uganda, Ghana, some other countries, I kept seeing people fly in, deliver care, and leave. And all that energy and all that effort would just get dissipated over time. What was not happening was empowering these countries to be able to be self-sufficient, self-sustaining, to take care of themselves, which is actually what they want. They want to be able to do that. And so what we've done with Seed is what we're trying to basically tell people and explain to people and fight for is this idea that we can fundamentally change how healthcare is delivered in the world. And the way we do it is by training healthcare providers. The fundamental problem is that today there is a shortage of 7.2 million doctors, nurses, and midwives globally, but by 2035, that problem is about to get a whole lot bigger. It's expected to go to about 18 million by 2035. That is a very short amount of time for a very big gap in the number of healthcare providers. 1 woman dies every hour from a complication of pregnancy or childbirth in Tanzania. If you look at Ebola, the mortality rate of Ebola is about 12%, actually. If we put them in a healthcare system like ours, that's less than the flu, or about comparable to the flu. In Africa, though, it's been 90% traditionally, and once we started to get some resources into West Africa during the Ebola crisis, it dropped down to about 40%. So we know these things we know we are capable of creating this kind of change. But the model is that if we can train, let's say we train, one of my doctors trains 10 doctors, and those each go on to train 10 more, and then they each go on to train 10 more, suddenly you have this huge leveraging effect. So I think what we've learned from SEED, just to sort of wrap up, I mean, with the 3 lessons, and I think the 3 opportunities are here that we've learned is, one, there has got to be mechanisms to support service. People say that it should be volunteerism. Well, I've got news for you. Earning barely any money in order to engage in service, live in some of the hardest conditions, and to be able to really have the stomach to see the suffering that you're often seeing in the suffering is service. And to sacrifice time with your family is service, but we have to have a mechanism for loan repayment or debt repayment. SEED is going to offset $1.3 million worth of debt this year alone, bringing our total to about 3.6 million since the program started. That's 4 years. That's a lot of debt. Our volunteers gave me a standing ovation when I talked about it last year. It's a critically important opportunity for this, and it's an investment here at home. These are folks we know that are more likely to come home and work with underserved specialties and in underserved areas in this country. Better understanding social determinants of health, it's an opportunity to invest in our own healthcare system. If each person trained sees 100 patients, it's $7 per patient life that we're affecting. That is a cost-effective intervention. So the ultimate goal here we have to realize is that the big problems haven't been solved because they're big problems. They're difficult to solve, but they're solvable. And we have to be willing to take that as our approach if we're going to do these answers and go for a long-term vision, maybe make what seems like a bigger investment. But in the end, there's an exit plan. We're already leaving some sites because they've hired the people we've trained and we're no longer needed. So there is an opportunity to shift how we're doing this.
Scott, I had the privilege, one of the privileges of my life actually was to have an Atlas Corps fellow, Moret Baguette from Tahrir Square, Cairo, a part of the extraordinary women who led the revolution in Egypt. And then she came and worked at our company and mobilized young people from Anacostia to serve in their communities. They brought the bald eagle back to the nation's capital, did other extraordinary things. But Moret was like at the center of this revolution here in D.C. So tell us about this reverse Peace Corps, multilateral professional corps you've started called Atlas Corps. And like Vanessa and like EJ, what lessons have you learned and what advice would you give us in terms of creating a multi-public-private agenda moving forward?
Great. One thing I saw was that the world was flat in the private sector. People from around the world went to great companies like IBM or to Microsoft to invent Hotmail and make millions of dollars. World was flat in the academic sector. People from around the world went to great universities and gained knowledge and went back home. It's even flat in the athletic sector. If you're a good shortstop, you'll go play for the Yankees. If you're even better, you can play for the Nationals. You know.
Red Sox.
And if you're really good, you play for the Red Sox.
Talent crosses borders. And what I saw was that, the other thing I saw was, having lived in Bosnia and India and around the world, was everywhere you go, you meet smart, talented, passionate people who want to make the world a better place. Talent in this world is universally distributed, but opportunity's not. So I launched Atlas Corps. I left State Department with this vision, create a global community of the world's best social change leaders. Find the most talented leaders, no matter what passport they were born with, no matter what their religion, their nationality, or their ethnicity. Give them an opportunity to come serve in the United States, to not only learn from U.S. organizations, but also share their perspectives and ideas, and head back home to create this global network. Just a couple weeks ago, our 21st class of fellows arrived. We're now up to 500 leaders from 76 countries who have come to serve at great organizations like Civic Enterprises. What we've learned in those last 10 years is that, yes, it's a powerful idea, but it's even a more powerful movement. And that when you have an LGBT leader from China serving at the Human Rights Campaign, living in the same home from a Pakistani youth leader serving at the Malala Fund, that not only does the Pakistani and the Chinese leader learn from the U.S. organization and we learn from them, but the Pakistani leader learns from the Chinese leader, who learns from the Mexican leader, who learns from the Colombian. Over 200 organizations have received Atlas Corps Fellows, have benefited from their skills, and those organizations are more likely to partner with each other going forward as well. And that we need that multi-sector approach. We need that multinational approach to be able to affect these global challenges. And that it's not just going to be a one-way flow, but the global service can be part of the solution if everyone is part of that answer.